Hi, welcome to Landscape of Mothers. I'm Jill Clifton. This is kind of part two of that teenagers and big emotions conversation. And this time I just wanted to get into a little more of like what we can do, right? So I had mentioned that teenagers can often have these really big emotions. They can, things feel so intense and personal and big to them often because of their hormones, the fact that they're in this in-between stage of being children or being adults. And one of the things that we can do as parents is to kind of not get involved in their big emotions. And that's way harder than it sounds, right? So I remember when I first started reading parenting books, my kids were toddlers and they had those big emotions. And, they would say like connection is the most important thing. And I think that's still true with teenagers. And part of the trick is that we need to learn how to self-regulate our own emotions, right? So that we don't jump into the bigness of whatever's going on. So I know when my teenager says, you don't understand me, or you don't understand what's going on, that what she's really saying is like, we're not connected, right? And so that's often a place where I can start to say like, oh, I need to take a different approach. And usually that approach is more around like validation, and just noticing, just being present to. And so the key here is being able to stay present and allow the big emotions to be there without jumping into them or having our own big emotions as response. And that can be really hard if we had big things happen in our teen years and we didn't feel understood, we felt neglected or abandoned. And often then when they have their big emotions, it sort of brings all that up for us. And so the sort of trick is to just be there, but not fall into whatever the situation at hand, right? And so ideally what we would be able to do is just kind of say like, I hear that you don't want my help with this, or I can see, I can see that there's big feelings here, and like, I'm here for you and I'm going to let you take care of this. And I'm here if you find that you need some kind of support. And that goes a long way toward calming people down, right? Like, when was the last time you were really upset and someone was like, well, just calm down? When did that ever work, right? It doesn't. What calms people down is a feeling of being connected, or a feeling that they're not alone, or a feeling that they have power that they otherwise aren't really feeling that they have, right? And that's what calms us down, is the feeling that like the threat level goes way down. And so when we jump into those big emotions with them, often like the sort of like threat level or the intensity of it all goes up. And so, but the only way to do that is for us to regulate our own nervous systems and to stay calm. And it's really hard in the face of big emotions. It's really hard. And often what we want to do is either jump to like, well, then I'll do it. Fine. I'll take care of it, or fine, you do it. And it's more of like, I'm just going to walk away. My hands are washed of this. You're on your own. Right. And neither one of those things actually creates a sense of connection either, or a sense of powerfulness in the teenager. And it doesn't teach them how to regulate themselves. And so the key to this then is us being able to maintain our own nervous system to take care of ourselves. And what does that mean? What does it look like? For me, some of the things that have helped are slowing down. So whatever we can do to slow things down is better, because it gives spaciousness and it gives a little more time for breath, for thought to come back, and to get out of the patterns that are driving everybody's like high emotions. Sometimes it's helpful to be able to do that together. Sometimes if your kid feels open to it at all, we can just say like, okay, let's just take a deep breath really quick and like just give ourselves a chance to regulate here, to calm down, right? So we're offering them a chance to co-regulate. If that doesn't work, often we just have to do it ourselves. And hopefully what we're doing is planting the seed that it's possible in the face of big emotions to still maintain your center and to still be able to find your tools so that you can take good care of yourself in whatever's going on, right? Because it may be completely out of our control. And in the ways that it is in our control, we can start to think better and to be clear about what is in our power and what we can do. But we have to slow down. Often taking a breath will help. If your kid has just stormed out of the room and was like, fine, you don't understand me, you'll never get this. Not chasing them down and trying to like get them to hear that you actually do understand, that's not going to help either. So what we can do then is we can count. Sometimes counting either up to 10 or down from 10 can be helpful to just stop running in the patterns that we're running in and see if we can find a different approach. We can ask ourselves, is this really urgent? If it's urgent, then we have to keep dealing with it. If it's not urgent, we can let it sit for a little bit, or we can say, like, we don't have to make a decision about this right now. We can make a decision in an hour or tomorrow or whatever, right? And so these are ways that we can slow things down. We can also remind ourselves that they're just having an experience, and as blown up or whatever as it is, or we feel that it is, for them it's real and it's just as intense as what they're presenting to us. And we can just kind of let them, they can be okay in their feelings. And by giving them that chance to be okay in their feelings, we can give them the opportunity to learn that their big feelings are okay and do not produce a sense of urgency under most circumstances, and that they do have time, they can slow down, and they can find their center again. So they often learn more from our behavior than from what we tell them. And so these are all the ways that we can start taking care of that. Sometimes what we need is bigger than just a breath or a reorientation in the moment. And what we may realize is that we actually really still do need to take care of some old pain or some unresolved trauma or some unresolved feeling that we have, some place that we're still replaying the ways that we were neglected or abandoned or were left alone to deal with some things that we just weren't capable of dealing with. So in the moment, our options are kind of like to take a deep breath, to count, to in whatever ways that we can to slow things down. And in the longer run, it might be therapy, that we realize we need to deal with some of our own things, or that we need to plan out a conversation that we can have with our kid when everyone is calmer. Sometimes it's helpful for kids and adults to take some kind of action, take a walk, go running, do something that helps the body move through the thing that's going on. And then we have access to more of our both our feelings and our logic and capability of making a plan to address whatever is happening. So those are ways, it's not as simple as it sounds, right? We can't just calm ourselves down because somebody says, hey, just calm down. And that's true for the teen, and it's probably true for you too. I know it's true for me, that no one in the history of time has ever calmed me down by being like, well, just calm down. So it's something we want to offer co-regulation to the degree that we can, and then we need to figure out how to regulate ourselves. So we can also know the things that take care of us. Sometimes for me, going and getting a hot tea, something that feels comforting to our body, can also help bring us back to being able to be present with the thing that's going on and to continue to deal with it, and to provide more tools to our kids, more by because we do it, because it's our action that we take, more than it's because we tell them that's what they should do. So hopefully this is helpful in some respect. I know this is the hardest part of parenting for me, and I don't want to present this as if like I have this all under control and I am always magically, perfectly, I respond perfectly well. I don't. And I think it has a lot to do with our capacity. So we can bring self-compassion to this as we realize that sometimes we will jump into it with our teen because we're tired, because we have a lot of other things going on, because we're already at capacity, right, for being able to self-regulate. So be gentle with them, be gentle with yourself. Slowing down is always a good option. Breathing is always a good option. The next thing that we'll want to do is for those times where we're not so great at regulating, and we do jump in and we do one of those things that's either like, then you deal with it, or like, oh, well, then you can't do it. I'll fix it, or I'm going to do this, so we either take over or we leave them alone to figure out how to do it on their own. We will do that sometimes because we're human beings and because we also have our capacities. And so one of the other things that benefit us greatly in dealing with our teenagers is learning how to apologize when we aren't able to keep our cool, when we aren't able to self-regulate, and that it comes back at them in some way that doesn't feel connective or good. The repair part of that is to be able to apologize. So I'll have a separate video on apologies.